Hi, my name is Sally and I'm here at the Zanesville Museum of Art today, and we're going to be talking about the element of line in art, and we're using this work which is called Men of Clay by Ohio artist Mary Ann Tipple today. Now, this one, when I first came to the museum, this one has always intrigued me because I thought, okay, who are these guys? And why are they called men of clay when they're not made out of clay? Made no sense to me, but I always thought it was kind of neat. So I've done a little work on figuring that out and also on the idea of line. Now, if you think about line, that's probably the first element of any art that you make. You draw a line. But lines aren't always just a straight line. Sometimes they're crooked, sometimes they're wavy, sometimes they're broken. So vertical lines, horizontal lines, we get all different kinds. And this work actually shows you a number of different kinds of lines. Now, first let me tell you that this work is a quilted piece. It's done on fabric, and it was actually a photograph that was transferred onto a piece of fabric, and then a bunch of stitching was done around that picture to try to give it interest and depth and texture. So let me talk about the lines that are quilted or stitched on here. First off, on the two faces, you can see that there is stitching around the outside of the face. There's stitching around the elements of their clothing. Even if you can zoom in over here, you can see stitching on this gentleman's mustache. He has a mustache that turns up on the side, and the artist has turned that up. There's stitching in the beards on both of the gentlemen, all around their hats and their suit coats and their shirts. Those lines represent contours that are outlining the natural features of the people and also of their clothing. But the lines that really interest me the most on this piece are the lines on the background. Now, I said earlier, sometimes lines are solid and sometimes they're broken. Well, a line of stitching is kind of a broken line because where the needle goes up and down, comes back up through the fabric, it leaves a little gap in the line. So if you look at the lines right over here, you can see that there's a little bit of space between each of the little white parts with the black showing through. And what the artist has done here is divide this background up into a number of sections, kind of panels, and some of them have vertical lines, like here and here and over here. Some of them have horizontal lines going across, and some of them even have sort of curved lines that, to me, that looks kind of like a church window. I don't know what it looks like to you, but that's sort of what it resembles. Now, what do those lines do for this? In addition to just filling up the space, they also add depth and they help to define what's there. They make it a much more interesting piece to look at. Now, I said that this always intrigued me because I wondered who these guys were. Well, I found out. They are two Frenchmen, so forgive me while I pronounce their names. One of them is Jacques Sicard, and the other one is Henri Gelée. These two gentlemen were French, and they came to Zanesville in about 1902 to work for the Weller Pottery. They worked for Weller Pottery from 1902 to 1907. And Jacques Sicard developed a process for giving pottery an iridescent glow that was very, very famous. After they left Weller, they went back to Europe and were successful there. So why is this called Men of Clay? Because they worked in clay. They made pottery for the Weller Pottery, which was very famous in Zanesville. Now, this piece was one that we used to talk about line. Next, perhaps, we'll talk about the next element of art, which you don't see much of in this piece, color. So join us next time.